Untap.
Welcome back to MTGYou, the Magic the Gathering podcast for you. I'm James.
Here for almost all your needs, I'm Blades.
It's not pulling up. And McNugget cast an Elvish Mystic. That was devastating. You guys haven't seen the new South Park, have you?
No, I absolutely have.
Yes. So good.
Say I'm Rich.
I'm Rich.
It's Thursday, the 4th of December, 2014. We're coming to you live from Studio U. Thanks for joining us. This is episode 61.
Upkeep.
All right, so what happened this week? Actually, let's just recap the last 2 weeks. We had a week off for Thanksgiving.
We did.
So what's been happening in the world of Magic over the last couple of weeks? We had Worlds.
World Championships, yeah, that started earlier this week, where the 36 top players in the world come together and clash against each other, and then they're currently cut to top 4.
Sweet.
So that's something to look forward to sometime this weekend.
And so it's currently happening. We're seeing it being cut down. Do we see any leaders? Do we know?
Yeah, the top 4, I believe, Shahar Shenhar, Yuya Watanabe, some other Asian player that I did not recognize. And I
Apologies
believe,
to him.
Apologies to him.
Yeah, apologies. And then Patrick Chapin.
Patrick Chapin. Cool.
Yep.
All right.
So-
What else has been happening?
I forget. I mean, there was a GP Montreal a couple weeks ago. I've been kind of out of it with the news, to be honest. But
Just anything you can
there's
think of,
also
any new products, anything.
GP New Jersey.
Any cool.
Did you guys talk about GP
Yeah,
New Jersey?
we've talked about New
yeah,
Jersey.
we got that.
But hit like 4,000 people for Legacy, for goodness sake.
Which was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of hit on that 2 weeks ago when we talked about how there were a number of people that just actually went and dropped out just to be able to get in there. But
Right.
there's only, out of the 4,000, there was 100 and something that just dropped, which isn't actually.
Which is actually super tiny. Like, I'm sure like there was probably more who just dropped in Vegas because like I got my product, see you guys.
Right,
Like,
right.
So 100 dropping is actually not that bad at
No,
all. So
not at
Yeah,
all.
that's not so bad.
Yep.
SCG. SCG has a new thing that they're doing, their new tournament structure. They have structured it to where they are now looking more like GPs instead of their Star City Open Series.
Yeah, they're kind of starting to like branch out and do their own TO type stuff now. Like, I mean, they've always been a TO.
Yeah.
But they're trying to do more like just competitive Magic in general and just making it more bigger,
They're
bigger,
stepping
badder,
it
awesome.
up to the next level to where their price structure is almost equivalent to a GP right now. And then, but one of the big things is that they're talking about is they're doing one big event for the weekend, which is going to be just about the equivalent of a GP. And then which means they're going to cut down on their Legacy Opens. So they're not going to do 2 Opens for every week. So that's going to be quite hurtful for the Legacy players since...
And it might be just a seasonal thing too. I mean, Legacy in general is kind of seeing less and less play, right? Like, it's been getting more popular, but less popular at the same time. Like, it's weird. I know that's like an oxymoron, but
a little bit, yeah. It's really started to strive through the SCG umbrella, but now that SCG is starting to... Well, it's not doing more or less for it because it's still doing 5Ks for Legacy and Modern, or any of the other 2 formats that are not being showcased for that weekend. The next day, they just are not going to get video coverage. So they're sort of going into a dark period there to where people are maybe going to start forgetting about them a little bit, but I think that they're probably going to
they're probably just branching out because they've been doing Legacy for so long that they're just trying to get more coverage of other things, right? I know that's one thing. Like whenever I try to get on like Star City games like YouTube and try to find like anything Modern related, it's all Legacy or Standard. That's it. And so I think
that's all that they have, really.
Like, really,
they don't cover Modern,
right? And so I think you're saying that they're trying to cover Modern now. Is that what you're saying?
Well, where they're doing this new GP umbrella model, as it were, just one big event for the weekend. That's going to be highlighted as a lot of times standard for the most part, but I do believe they have 3 modern
Oh, so they are going
structures.
to get more stuff
yeah,
going on,
they're
basically.
they're going to get more modern, but significantly less coverage to Legacy.
Gotcha. Fair enough. And what's up with the ringing bell?
You
Is
know,
it like Pavlov's dog? Or where's my
Yeah,
steak at?
that means the lasagna's done, guys. I just got word from my wife that the
Oh,
lasagna was
gotcha.
ready.
So kind of like Pavlov's. All right.
Yeah, so I'm now like,
Cool. You guys know what that is, right? Conditional.
yes.
Yeah, my mouth is watering.
Yeah.
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 So,
Sorry, my
and for some reason now, ever since some of these new updates, all of this, everything, all of my messages are now just going through my computer. So everybody gets to hear everything.
That's fine.
Yeah, I've had issues with the last few Apple updates as well.
I just have one question for you. Does the noise in my head bother you?
Oh,
Only when you answer it.
Okay, just checking. All right. Anything else with in the news that you guys can think of that you want to bring up?
those are the big things outside of the Judge Jar.
The heck is a judge jar? It's like a
The jar is rules enforcement. They summed it down to 2 pages on what you should be able to do on a non-competitive REL,
Oh, okay.
and just to make it a whole lot more.
Accessible for people trying to run events that aren't super competitive. basically.
Yeah, and keep it more consistent between the 2 of them, so that you don't want to get DQ'd from one for doing something that would just get you a slight slap on the wrist for something else. So if you guys have not
You can get DQ'd in a non-competitional event, or are you talking like F&M type REL?
F&M start
Oh,
type
I thought you
REL.
meant like casual event, because like we're
Yeah,
like,
like
oh, it's
casual.
just me and 6 friends, and we're playing at the shop, and we're getting points. Like that's that what you're talking about, not like
They're both roughly the same.
I know. Right. The multiplayers are probably the same. Yeah.
Yeah. But for those of you who are curious about that, JudgeCast recently just released something there, so go check that episode out.
Awesome. All right, so let's move along unless you can think of anything else. Okay.
Draw step.
And in our draw step, we're going to first start off with, let's see. Yeah, I know. I just have to.
Sorry, my computer crashed, so I'm trying to get everything back up and running.
Oh, okay. So do you want to go with Blades first?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I got to bring that up because I already had yours queued, but let me go find it here.
Back to the dog. Go
Go
find that Pavlov's dog.
Ding.
I want my steak
Oh.
now.
I know.
Ding, fries are done. Ding, fries are done.
Oh man, this is
So
taking
crispy
longer than it should
fries.
be.
So crispy fries.
So you getting into the holiday music yet, guys?
Oh,
No.
absolutely.
Heck no.
Absolutely.
My family's Christmas music is we put on Nightmare Before Christmas. Like that's it.
Nope. I've had a Christmas station out here going on for since the day after Halloween.
101.3. The only
100.3,
Christmas station.
That is my current one. Yes, I've been listening to Christmas music since Halloween.
Nice. Okay. So Blades, today's Glare of Heresy, 1 colorless and 1 white for an uncommon sorcery. Exile target white permanent.
Yeah, I did this one a while ago, roughly a year ago when it first got spoiled, but now that we got a new standard format, I wanted to re-go over it, and where I think it should be seeing more play than what it currently is. Sideboard, at least, to where white is one of the big colors for more than half of the decks right now, where you have Wingmate Rock, you have Elspeth, you have Siege Rhino, you
Mantis
have Butcher
Rider.
of the Horde, you have Mantis Rider. Each one of those are pretty huge staple cards in each one of these archetypes. So Glare of Heresy, even as like a singleton in your sideboard, I feel like it's very well placed.
Banishing
right now.
Light, Fleece Mainline.
There you go. Before the Fleece Main Lion's able to heroic.
Well, right. I mean,
Naturally, yes. But in the blue-white heroic list as well, anything with heroic after they slam on a bunch of their stuff, get rid of his guy. It seems pretty good right now, fairly well positioned. The fact that its sorcery speed is quite burdensome, but the fact that it only costs 2
But it's
mana to
priced
exile
right.
It never
something.
feels bad to 2 mana exile a freaking Siege Rhino, guys. Let's face
Yeah.
it. So
Especially in a lot of lists that are plain white, there's a lot of cards that are looking to that are having issues with Siege Rhino. Before I played the enchantment that exiles a creature with toughness 4 or
suspension
less.
field.
Suspension field. That is seen. That's done pretty good for me, but you can only have so many of those in your sideboard, and where this one's even just a singleton, I feel like it can easily be swapped out. Also, when they draw Siege Rhinos, they seem to draw a lot of
All
them.
of them. Yeah.
All of them. For
the
some
Siege
reason.
Rhino train for some reason. It's like going out to the safari. I don't know what's
So
going
the
on
magical yak in the chat room says Chain to the
Rock.
Rock seems more playable lately too.
there. Yeah, there's a lot of more like just like red, white, black lists starting to see play. Like more so than it did a year ago for sure.
Yeah, the fact that you have to be playing a mountain with the white is a little bit burdensome, but where you're starting to see these the wedge in them, the enemy colors do start to see a bit more. I'm actually surprised with Chain to the Rocks. I haven't tried it out much myself, but it has been seeing a bit more play. It just seems a little bit to me, but people are winning with it, so that can't be wrong.
Okay, and on to Rich with, and I'm going to try to pronounce this, Citadel Flute.
Sentinel.
We don't know for sure. 5 colorless for an artifact. Pay X, tap, search your library for a creature card with total casting cost no greater than X. Reveal that card and put it into your hand. Shuffle your library afterward.
So I actually, like, in all of my research for EDH, somehow I missed this card, or just because it cost 5 mana, I was like, oh, that's terrible. But I was playing at somebody in EDH, and they were playing this, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that seems so sweet, especially when you're playing in, you know, colors that don't typically get to go search for creatures. I mean, even if you're playing green, it still seems really good. You know, EOT, pay 8 mana, go find whatever you want. Go 3 mana, go find what you want. You know what I mean? You can keep doing it. Seems really good. Citadel Flute, I don't know. Those of you who are Susquehannian, you guys can, I guess, send us emails and let me know how to pronounce it. But I just think this card's really, really sweet. And for those of you who are starting to recently get into EDH and kind of looking for some cool cards, this thing's only like $1. It's really, really, really cheap. And it's freaking awesome. If you don't like the Saga border, the mud-looking artifact cards, they've got one in like 10th edition or something. Yeah, right there, 10th edition too. So, but they're pretty awesome, and I'm actually potentially looking at picking one of these up for one of my decks to try it out and see how it works. So, I like it.
All right. Moving along to our
Main phase.
So in our main phase today, we were basically wanting to talk a little bit about meta. We started off talking a little bit about mostly focusing on standard, but I think we might even bring a little bit of modern into this.
And a little bit of legacy.
And
'cause
legacy.
I've been watching a crap ton of legacy.
So let's start off with the topic we were talking about earlier with what you wanted to bring up with, you know, you have a modern player that's just started out, and they've said, you mean, they get a little discouraged perhaps because they say, look, I just dropped $300 on these, and in a month,
right.
I mean in a year,
these cards are going to rotate out.
These cards are going to rotate out. What
For
do you
standard,
say to
yes.
What do you say to that?
So, we're probably going to be doing a on your topic of modern, we'll probably be doing a modern budget episode later when we have more time and stuff, probably not during the holidays. But basically, though, like, say, for instance, like you're a new player and you just got into Magic. I know that recently at my shop, there's been a few people that have just recently gotten into Magic, and they've spent, you know, quite a sum of money potentially getting some of their decks and stuff like that, or like getting these cards, and they're like, oh wait, you know, I'm playing standard and a lot of these cards rotate out in a year and a half. Like, why would I ever want to spend that much money on cards like this and keep doing this if I'm playing standard? Like, that seems like too expensive. And I guess my advice to you is, like, if you're looking into playing standard and playing standard effectively, you're going to actually kind of have to do some research. You're going to have to find out card prices and kind of just watching how they're fluctuating and things like that. It'll help you kind of keep track of like when to get into cards, when to get out of cards. And like Sarkon Vol, for instance, is what, like $30 now? I think he's actually cheaper than that. I think he's down like $25. And there was a time when he was like $50 or $60. You know what I mean? And for you, if you're looking to like kind of budgetize your decks, never get into cards when they're that high. I'm sorry, but like think about it. If you yourself are like, $60 is too much money, I bet you there's 80 to 90% of the population out there who play Magic looking to get the cards you're looking into getting will agree with you.
So most cards,
not that Sargon, but
not that one.
And so I guess my point is like
Dragon Speaker.
Sargon Dragon Speaker.
Dragon Speaker. Let's bring it up.
So the thing is, just kind of pay attention to card prices and things like that. You'll actually find pretty typically there's a normal like range that cards will be priced at. If it sees quite a bit of standard play, it'll be $10. Honestly, Siege right now being at $4 is super cheap right now. And if you're ever looking to play in junk, period, even in like modern, pick them up now because this is probably the lowest they'll ever go. I mean, they might drop to $3 after like the holiday season closer when Fate Reforged comes out. But once Fate Reforged comes out, they're going to just kind of start climbing from there.
More than just that, too, the Savage Knuckleblade seems pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, I Hate You, Mantis Rider did start to see play in Modern.
Yeah, did it? And we'll have to talk about that in a second. Like, you'll have to show me what list. I'm curious. Because it's good, dude. Who cares if it dies the bolt? It chumps with the Delver.
I don't
or
like
punches them in the face for 3.
I don't like it.
Anyway, so that's also a lot of life to try to get those lands into play so you can tap it, play it turn 3, by the way. But so I guess my point is like usually if you're trying to play standard and try to maintain your value, you're kind of playing the wrong format. Let's just be honest here. Standard's one of those things where it's going to rotate out every 2 years, and now it's going to be a year and a half. It's going to be 18 months, which is even less time than 2 years.
It is? Let me do the math really quick. Hang on.
Oh.
18, 20. So carry the 1. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
carry the 1.
Thanks.
Yes.
18 does sound bigger than 2, but
but standard deck is a lot like buying a new car. The second you drive it off the lot, it's not worth what you're paying for it.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, though, like standard is, I mean, there's a lot of places play standard FNM. That's what most people play. It's the easiest format for somebody who's new to get into because it's a lot easier as a new player to go in and buy an intro pack for $15 or $10 or whatever they're worth, and immediately. Whereas if you're trying to play modern and people are playing with $200 goifs and their decks are worth $1,000 to $2,000, it kind of makes it a little bit more intimidating, I guess, as a newer player coming in that format. Cause I don't want to spend that much money to blah. But whereas standard, it's a lot more, the polarization of the meta is closer together, and the pricing of decks are pretty consistent. Unless you're building on a budget and stuff, then obviously your deck's going to be probably cheaper than most standard decks. But my point being is, if you're trying to get out of this stuff, just be conscientious of what's seeing play in modern. Keep a hold of your modern staples, like your Corsair crew fixes. Siege right now has been seeing tons and tons and tons of play in modern, which we kind of expected it. Like, I mean, it seems like a really good one of in pod, and it's even started up to see 2, 3, or even occasionally a 4 of on some very fringe lists 4 of. But in pod lists now, which, I mean, that's just going to cause the value of Siege Runner to go up because it's showing that it has potential play for later. Corsair crew fixes do too, you know what I mean? And also like treasure cruises. Treasure cruises are like $1 on Star City. I mean, I'm sure you can buy them for cheaper on eBay. But these are also cards you probably want to hold on to because, I mean, nobody expected in a million years Gitaxian Pro would be $3. I mean, remember when Gitaxian Pro was $3? It was like a 15-cent common because everybody had them, and now they're $3. Serum Visions, oh my goodness, they are $8 now, like selling out regularly on eBay at like $7, $8.
I want to buy those.
Common.
I want to buy those at $8, and I can't find them.
Yeah, like they're so hard. I can't keep them in the shops at all either. Like you just can't find them anymore because they're that. They actually really need to reprint that, if anything. And it's also
absolutely.
And that's actually more of a product of Wizards of the Coast banning preordained ponder and stuff like that. But
because Serum Visions isn't all that good.
Yeah, Serum Visions is like the super redheaded stepchild out of the group. But anyway, not the point. And so a lot of these commons like this that you're seeing play in Standard or Legacy are cards you definitely want to hold on to. But for some of the cards, like Sarkhan Vol, when Sarkhan Vol rotates out, I'm sorry, he might be $5.
Dragon Speaker.
Sarkhan Vol is the name of the Planeswalker, and I keep saying that. Sarkhan Dragon Speaker, thank you, Blades. He probably won't be $50 or $30 when he rotates, right? He'll probably be a $5 Planeswalker.
I think he'll stay right around 10.
10? Okay, that's fair.
I think he's right around
Most
15.
most
right now,
planeswalkers
but
are
yeah.
saying about 10 because there's a finite amount of planeswalkers out and everybody likes them. So
And he's a dragon planeswalker.
and he's a dragon planeswalker. So that's
Yeah.
a fair point. So even at $10 though, you're still losing what, $15, $20 on him. So that's one of those cards if you're being conscious of your budget and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it's sweet to play that planeswalker, but wait till he hits, a certain point, and then I would get out of him. I mean, like, you still have a year and a half with him left, basically a year and 3 months. So he's fine for right now, but, when it gets closer to, like, that 4 or 5 months before he rotates, that's when you want to start trading out of them or potentially selling them or whatever, and then getting into the newer stuff. I know that seems like a lot of work, but if you're worried about staying constant with standard and not dropping tons and tons of money every single 3 months, you know what I mean? Just be, trade a lot more effectively, and also be conscious of what's going on in other formats, while also, gosh, I just lost it. There's one point I had to sum it up basically, but
Well, basically, once you're into Modern, you're into Modern. You don't have to keep replenishing your stash every few years.
right. It wasn't about Modern. It was about the standard rotation thing. Oh, instead of playing like 3 or 4 different decks, sorry, that's where I was getting at. Play one deck. I mean, it's cool to have your Sarkhan Balls, but if you're not playing them in a deck, that's literally money that's rotting in a binder somewhere. Why not use that to potentially get into something else that you could be either playing or an investment type situation where you know that the things you're trading them into are going to always maintain value. I mean, a Sarkhan Vol for an Aether Vial, let's see, Aether Vial has been 25, pretty consistent for the last like 2-3 years. So maybe an Aether Vial is worth getting into rather than holding on that Sarkhan Vol. Like stuff like that. Basically try to trade into things that aren't like stocks, basically. Get into things that aren't going to fluctuate as much if you're worried about it. And the thing is, too, a lot of people are willing to trade standard stuff for modern stuff, not so much modern stuff for standard stuff. So worst case, if you're like, oh man, I really need those Sarkhans back, it's probably a lot easier to trade those modern things away to get back into those standard stuff. So I don't know if that answered your question, James.
Yes.
If it was me,
I don't even remember what my question was, but that's exactly right.
I don't think it matters after that rant.
But I mean, like, I guess basically if you're trying to save money in standard, just do your homework. And try to watch it. There's actually a really cool website out there. It's called mtggoldfish.com. I was just told about this recently. And it actually tracks all of the different pricing, and it'll actually show you, hey, Elspeth went up 55 cents this week, while Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker, went down $1. And it kind of allows you to see the fluctuation of cards, and it kind of helps you know, just like, you're like, oh man, this card's tanked $2 since I got him. I should probably get out of them. Or, oh man, these cards are going down. I should pick them up because I want to play them. You know what I mean? Just either or. So
yeah.
And also, like, you'll notice going back to the getting into modern, and we did not mean to make this into a whole getting into modern instead of standard conversation, but it kind of started off on that foot. If you, for any of you who've been playing standard the last 2 years and wanting to play modern, right now is kind of the perfect time. Or even if you're just brand new into standard and you're looking into playing modern, getting the fetch lands is great. I mean,
never been a better time.
It's never been a better time. I mean, like, they're hitting $10 for goodness sakes. I mean, a lot of these cards were $50 to $100, 3 months ago. So, I mean, these cards are definitely worth getting into. But also, like, the shock lands, if you had been playing during the Ravnica block, the Return Ravnica block, you had the shock lands, which are not necessarily a must or a necessity, but they're almost like a necessary evil in modern. And this gave you a really good opportunity to get into them as well. And so if you've kind of been collecting these lands and these cards as you've been going through, I mean, you almost basically have the shell of a modern deck. And so I guess that goes back to the whole paying attention and keeping the things that are relevant for modern and stuff, and getting out of the other stuff. But yeah, did you guys... What was our other topic? What was the next one?
Basically, we want to talk mostly about modern meta. I'm not modern, standard meta, but you could touch on modern meta a little bit like that, because I think that at the beginning there was a little bit of a conversation before our show started about that.
Let's do standard first, and we'll walk into it. We'll walk into it.
So we're coming from the standard meta right now. It's looking pretty fairly diverse.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have the big, like, the two big decks right now are kind of, for a fact people are going to be playing Abzan mid-range. For a fact people are going to be playing Jeskai Tempo. But other than that, like, it's pretty even Steven. I mean, there's a lot of different things you could be playing right now and have I guess, success with. The difference is that the Jeskai deck and the Abzan deck are just more consistent, possibly.
Maybe the tempo's actually starting to see a little bit less play. They're going for more of their heroic build right now. That's starting to see more and more success. But among each one of the clans, Mardu, Sultai, Abzan, every one of those teamer, those ones all have a top tier deck each one of them.
Right. Yeah.
And that's pretty.
And Mardu
key
midrange
as well.
is actually being more and more popular too, which is funny because
Do you get the feeling
one of the ones we thought were going to be better.
Do you get the feeling these names are going to stick? Sort of like I'm starting to get the feeling that they're going to stick somewhat like Jundin. And
I
think it's going to too.
I think
unfortunately, it is to say it, yes. I'm gonna miss Junk because Abzan sucks as a name. Sultai
Junk is such a cool word.
Bug is so much cooler than
better.
Sultai. Let's just face it.
We've been over
Jeskai?
that, though.
Who the heck calls it Jeskai? It's blue, white, red, which is weird because they just call it. It's
I'm
color
on board
wheel,
with
but-
Jeskai.
Really?
I'm on board with Jeskai.
Yeah.
Jeskai and Mardu, I'm on board with.
Interesting. Anyway,
Mardu's
that's
cool.
a
They should
little
have just called it Dega, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit more on board with Dega, but Mardu is fine.
Yeah, I've got a lot of people at the shop that are like, because they've been playing, longer than, they're, I guess, veteran players is how I'd put it.
Longer than dirt, yes.
Yeah, and they're like, I'll never ever play this, or call it these names. It's always been Bug or Rug, blah 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 blah. And the thing is, like, because everybody's just calling it the new names, like, man, I guess this is going to be a thing, isn't it? It's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of going to be the thing. And it doesn't help that there's all these different TOs that or people when they post deck lists, they always just call it Jeskai midrange, Jeskai whatever.
Which,
right?
for the legacy decks, I feel like that is entirely wrong, and they should stick with the older ones. But
Yeah,
for
but
playing an
standard,
old format that's
as
older
far
than
as
dirt.
standards concerned,
But
yeah, jump on board.
Then you're just talking about more people, more things that new players have to learn.
Well, it's like-
so is this junk or is it?
They are making it more easily accessible, yeah. But
Yeah, but they're losing flavor.
you never see them call it Boros aggro. It's red white aggro. for goodness sake.
True. Yeah, Boros didn't really. I don't think any of the Ravnica ones really stuck too much.
No.
I mean,
No, Boros was
while they
there for
while
a
they
while.
were there, they were
Right.
being used.
But not now.
But now it's kind of fallen off again. So I guess we'll see. I guess we'll have to revisit this.
I mean, there's dredge, but that's because that's
in
the
a year or
mechanic
two
that
and
they're
see
using.
what it
so.
says. Yeah.
It still depends on what it looks like. Like red white burn from last season. That was named red white burn and not Boros because it wasn't a creature style deck. If it was more of a creature synergistic deck, then yes, it would probably have earned the name Boros.
I have to admit, though, it is my biggest pet peeve. When people are like, I have a Selesnya deck. I'm like, so you have a green-white deck. You have a green-white deck. No, it's Selesnya. It's not green-white. I'm like, it's this. Okay.
Yeah. I'm with you there, sir.
But the thing is, like, I don't know, some of the legacy decks, they still call it blue-red delver or whatever. I think it has a lot to do with whether or not they who's putting in the names.
Yeah.
It could be just like they're like.
Anyway, I didn't
Because they still
mean
call
to-
artifacts mud.
I didn't want to
And I didn't even know what that
sidetrack us
meant. It had
down that
somebody from
rabbit
chat
hole.
explained it
That
to
was
me.
just a little question I had.
Yeah,
so
I
let's
don't
keep.
know. Anyways, let's
moving
keep
along
going on.
here.
So,
But, the decks, so you got your 5 pillars. I think Sultai is probably the least played among all of them.
yeah, well, there was Sultai Whip for a while there, but it's so fringe, and they basically just keep cutting the blue and making it green black, like
Green black. They've
like,
actually started.
Constellation.
It's
Basically,
started to see more play into the Abzan whip now too.
right.
So it's more white in there as well. So I guess that's a thing.
Yeah.
It's seeing moderate amount of play. I think that one's probably one that's just barely starting to pick up steam.
Well, like we have Tormod script too, and nobody's running them in the sideboard.
And
I
nobody's playing
understand that, but like it's one of those decks that it's just less consistent than like the Abzan or the Jeskai.
Right.
So if you're gonna like invest the money and cards into a deck, it might as well like play something that's consistent or something that's kind of fun and wins on occasion. More consistent. Like it's usually what you'll see in big tournaments, at least. I know that Sultai Whip is pretty good in Moto. Yeah. It's seen a lot more play in Moto than it does in Paper Magic. But But like the big cards there, like they just run like Sidisi and like Satyr Wayfinders and stuff, right? And just try to fill up the graveyard and win the game with a Erebos whipping out like Hornet Queens and stuff, or they try to just win with...
I think Hornet Queens are a little bit on the downfall right now. Like,
well, right, Bioblades are everywhere, so that's kind of why too, right?
Right.
But they also play with like Empty the Pits on occasion.
On occasion, yes.
And Nyx Weaver to get it back and stuff. But Sultai, the next one's probably like Mardu.
Mardu, that's pretty much just been mid-range. There's been some aggro, which is where we thought Mardu would be, since they're supposed to be more of an aggressive clan, but where vast majority of all of these are mid-range decks, which surprises just about everyone.
The Mardu mid-range?
Yeah, like mid-range as a whole, where you got Abzan, you got...
It's all just mid-range, like, basically beating their heads together, right?
Yeah, the Jeskai tempo there for a little bit, that felt a little bit more mid-rangey, since it had so many 3-drops.
It's tempo because it's mid-range, it's just a different way of playing mid-range, right?
Yeah.
They don't try to grind out the game. They just try to nug you a little bit here and there and a little bit
Whether
here and
they go
there.
for a lot of goblins or like over the top or whatever. That one did still feel a little bit more mid-range.
But there's also like some Mardu like aggros that kind of occasionally peak, but it's mostly like aggro has a hard time against mid-range, right? So mid-range has just been the kind of safe bet. And because we have no control whatsoever really going on, like the control versions, they're like what control should be, and that's me being biased.
Wampus in the chat room has a good comment, though, I think. Aggro can't exist in a standard where R&D wants people to play Morph, because Morph is a slow mechanic. So you think about it, they probably, would you say that they maybe had to form a standard environment where you could play Morph, in other words?
Yeah, I think that's has some validity to it. However, nobody is playing a whole lot of Morph right now.
No, not that, but I think that
that was their plans, is that they made it more accessible through it.
I think that's what we're saying here. It's not that people are playing the Morph, but they somehow limited the aggro so that Morph could exist if it needed to.
Yes, the set was morphed around that.
Well, and the thing is,
morphed. I see what you did there.
Aggro is going to be way better when Courser, Krufix, and Sylvan Caryatid rotate out of the format, and Mantis Rider, which that's me being biased because I hate swinging my 2/1s into Mantis Riders, but
turn 2,
and that's like the big like barrier, right, to get into the aggro, like playing as an aggro deck. I know I play 19 swamps and like 30 creatures, like I'm playing that deck, so I understand. Like I play the mono black aggro deck, and then my biggest problem is Courser, Krufixes, and Sylvan Caryatids, because you just can't swing through them.
Into Siege Rhino on top of all of that.
Into Siege Rhino, which Siege Rhino is actually surprisingly I have no problem with, because the mono Dark Betrayal is so good against Siege Rhinos. One black, kill that guy. Okay, cool.
I'm having issues with the Rhino. I don't have any issues with the Coursers.
Also, I am playing the Morph guy. That's a 1/1 Death Touch guy, because people always forget what he is. And when you flip him, he deals target player loses 2 life, which is super good. But anyway, I digress. I actually do a really good job against the Abzan decks that aren't playing with Coursers. But anyway, point being, aggro is hard to play right now. You have to be really, really fast and get around big stuff. And Swarm, which is why the Boss Sly mono red decks are doing so well, because they just go blah and vomit up their hand and then attack for a bunch with a lot of little guys rather than just a few threats trying to get through.
The lifelink too off of Soren, that's another thing.
Yes, in the Abzan decks.
Yeah, in the Abzan decks.
And the Mardu midrange.
They just dropped the Soren on a open board, and there is nothing to prevent life gain. So that's pretty relevant right now as well.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of glad I called it. He was good. Sorry.
He actually.
Everybody was
really
like, "Why are you playing it? That guy's terrible." I'm like, "No, dude. He's like whip, but almost better." And then, sure enough, he's starting to see lots of play, more so than Sarkon is actually now. But
yes,
other big decks. So we've talked about Jeskai. Jeskai's like 4 Mantis Riders and Seeker of the Waves, and they actually started taking Seeker of the Way out because Seeker of the Way can't fight through Siege Rhino.
Yeah, it's Secret of the Way is sort of like the worst card against the mid-range matchups, and where we have a format that's full of mid-range.
He's just not that good. He gets outpowered and outclassed so quickly.
He does get
right?
outpowered and outclassed fairly quickly, if you don't have enough backup for him.
And it seems like a lot of the Jeskai tempo lists have turned more into a controlling deck, right? Have you noticed at all?
They've started to lean a little bit more that way. Going into just about our only control deck, Esper Control has started to put up some results.
Yeah, Esper Control is like thriving to an extent. I mean, it hasn't seen a whole lot of top 8
It's
play,
like on the bubble.
Right. Well, it's because they have no huge life gain outlet yet.
Or
they have to
any
nickel and dime their life gain, right?
They 1-for-1 the opponent, and then
well, Siege Rhinos, like
Siege
you get
Rhinos.
hit by 3 Siege Rhinos, that's 9 life that you're not getting back,
Yeah.
right? And then they just have to resolve a small guy and kill you with it. So
well, the control decks just can't do what they did before, to where before they were just able to stabilize at 1 life and just let that one little guy through. The creatures right now are getting better. They are definitely upgrading the creatures, and they're making them more of a threat.
yeah, they were saying the power creep isn't real. Well, guess what, guys? It's real. The power creep is
Unfortunately, it's
real.
real right now. They tend to fluctuate things a little bit.
Spells are garbage compared to what they used to be.
We no longer have a 4-mana Wrath. That hurts us slightly. It doesn't do it so much, but that's still slightly. That's just pretty much it.
Yeah. And then, of course, Abzan we've already talked about a million times.
Abzan we've talked about. The Mardu midrange. Butcher the Horde.
Yeah, Butcher the Horde's really good, especially with Goblin Rabblemaster.
Yeah. I
Heck
think
yeah,
he's
dude.
starting to see a little bit less play right now for some reason. I don't know why.
Goblin Rabblemasters? They're like $30,
Goblin
dude. Holy shipwreck Batman. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I never expected that. Butcher the Horde's also races with Siege Rhinos, though.
He races very well.
Which is probably the major thing why he's seeing lots of play right now.
Yeah. Another deck that's been starting to see a little bit more, Blue-White Heroic.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a lot of people were realizing that they could play like the Jeskai Heroic deck. And they're like, well, if we just take the red out.
And it's more consistent a little bit. It doesn't have the combo win by any means, and I think that the Jeskai one is probably still a little bit better. But it protects your things a little bit easier too. This is one that I played this last week for FNM, and I actually only got beat out by a Butcher of the Horde deck. Go figure.
It's good and it gets like
because he races you.
Nugging you 5 a turn and having vigilance.
Yeah,
and protection from stuff is pretty good.
That
he gains protection, doesn't he?
Cackling Doom? Crackling Doom?
Yeah, Cackling Doom is truth.
That thing where they make you sack
so
the guy
good.
when
And
you can't
do 2
protect it
damage
with
to
any
you.
of your God's Willing. That is actually by far the greatest removal spell in the format right now.
It's also really, really good in Modern. Because they're like, get rid of your Goyf and take 2. It's actually seen fringe play in the Mardu decks and Modern
I bet.
too. So
I bet.
Which is pretty sweet.
But back to the Blue-White Heroic. That one, it definitely feels aggro tempo-y, since you draw a lot of cards off of a lot of the spells.
He gains no protection. He just gets Vigilance, Lifelink, or Haste.
Right.
Sorry. Proceed.
But where you just resolve a guy and then just keep giving it protection and hopefully continue to swing through, while still drawing cards off of your Thassa's or deal of Thassa. You're starting to see
Draw a bunch of cards.
You're starting to see it play a few treasure crews as well in between mainboard and sideboard. It actually can
They play Heliod's Pilgrim, dude.
Yeah,
it goes in and it finds your
Pilgrim,
Aqueous form.
which I'm not sure if that's the best card in there. Jerry T actually has a list up that he does not play any of the Pilgrim.
I've just seen it as like a 2 or 3 of, and it seems really adorable to go find like the one enchantment you need to be able to finish
I
your
actually
opponent
think
off.
that's the thing about it, is that it's more adorable than anything, to where you only have like 3 or 4
We have a
big
guy that
targets
plays.
for it.
We have a guy that plays Bant at my shop, and he does the infinite mana with Singing Bellstrike and like Karamech's Acolyte, or with Nykthos with Voyaging Satyrs. He can go infinite green mana, so he's just like Polychronos. Kill that thing. Genesis Hydra, go find whatever I want. Like, make an infinitely huge Genesis Hydra. Can you deal with this? So, like, he uses the Helios Pilgrims to go find the Singing Bellstrikes to go infinite with it, which is pretty adorable.
That That does seem fairly adorable. But
Which is
it
funny.
works.
I keep telling him, like, splash black or... Well, he splashed the white for that's program because I suggested it because it goes and fights Singing Bellstrike. But yeah, like, I'm like, dude, you should play, like, some sort of effect that just kills your opponent that turn, but he doesn't have room for it. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
So yeah, blue-white heroics also seen play Boss Sly, which is mono-red.
That one's a little bit on the downfall right now because it is an aggro deck and it doesn't.
It's driving me nuts.
We're just seeing a whole lot of mid-range right now.
Yeah.
Something wrong with your hair there?
Huh?
Something wrong with your hair?
No, it's just driving me nuts.
All right.
Sorry.
Yar, it's driving me nuts.
Yar.
Kept playing with it. It was driving me nuts. Anyway, so...
Yeah, the Sly is starting to see less play because we've got so much mid-range out that it's just sort of stops it in its tracks a lot of the time.
Yeah, but it can kind of come in and creep in and just two-0 opponents pretty quickly.
It can if it gets the right draws, but the fact of the matter is that it hasn't seen enough consistency or enough luck to get to that point.
Right. Well, with more Siege Rhinos...
More Siege Rhinos.
More Siege Rhinos. If you can't play with them, you got to beat them somehow. So,
right.
Hushwing Griff, just saying, it's pretty bad, but you should play it.
We've still got a green-black Constellation deck.
Yeah, well, that was in response to the boss slide because Doomwig Giant is truth.
He is truth. Or just a constellation mechanic as a whole is still fairly powerful.
Yeah, well, the fact that they can grind out games by card advantage, gaining more card advantage than, say, like the Abzan or Jeskai, like that's probably where it gets a lot of its power. So,
right where it plays the
Eidolon of Blossoms and
the Eidolon Blossoms. It plays a Singleton Freaka.
So you can just exile stuff and get more Constellation
triggers. It does very
triggers.
good. The green-black decks are very good right now.
Yeah.
Super mid-rangey. Nobody's playing the Back to Nature, Back to Basics.
Nobody's playing that really.
Nobody's playing that right now.
Well, because it kills your Courser.
Because it kills your Courser, and if you're playing green, of course you're playing Courser.
Yeah. So, another thing that's really seen some fringe plays, the Velnos Wealth deck. I actually have a few people building that in my shop.
Oh, really?
Because like it's kind of interesting. I don't know if they like all just had a collective consciousness of. Those of you know that card. It's funny. Anyway, I don't know if they just had like a collected consciousness of the fact that like, you know what, if we play Dictate of Karametra and just flash it in at the end of our opponent's turn and just play control and then Velnos Wealth them for 18. We might win the game, and then they do that, and they do really consistently well with it, because Aether Spouts is really good right now, because everybody's playing mid-range, and putting your opponents back 3 or 4 turns seems really good for 5 mana. So, there's control decks are changing a lot. They're a little bit more interactive than they used to be, which I'm excited for, so bug control is truth as well. So
yeah. Something that we actually seen these past few weeks, 4-color mid-range, which is pretty much just all the good stuff.
I haven't seen that at all.
Butcher the Horde, Siege Rhino, Satyr Wayfinder.
So it's
Chain to the Rocks, actually.
It's kind of an interesting, like...
It's like Mardu and Abzan mixed.
That's weird.
Yeah, this was a creation of Brad Nelson. He just grabbed all the good stuff, packed it together, and
why Satyr Wayfinder? That seems terrible.
It gets you land.
I know, but you can also mill your Siege Rhinos, your delicate, oh so precious Siege Rhinos.
That's fine.
Also, okay, another card too. I gotta apologize for those of you that listen to our set review of Construct here, and I'm like, you know, that bird, Wingmate Rock, he's kind of I'm not sold on him. Yeah, that was I totally botched that one. Like, in hindsight, like, I still think that the form, that Stormbreath Dragon's better in a Mardu type deck just because of the haste. But Wingmate Rock, I realize now, like, thinking about it, I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. I should have thought of this. The fact that it comes into play and gets you a bird and a teammate is really good, especially right now with everybody running removal spells because, like... You know, it's like you still get a 3/4 bird out of the deal.
Right.
Also, the flying on this guy, there's not a whole lot of defense for flying, and
not right now. That's,
any standard.
Well, that's what I was thinking because everybody was playing Stormbreath Dragon. I'm like, Stormbreath Dragon eats this guy, just eats it. But most of the decks that are playing Wingmate Rocks are playing black and playing Heroes Downfall, and they don't care about Stormbreath Dragons. So it makes
And Stormbreath Dragon, if you are on the defense with Stormbreath Dragon, then it's not looking good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, right, because you're not smashing through and killing your opponent. So, Wingmate Rock's another card that speculative, I totally botched, but is really, really good right now and seeing a lot of play. And this is like the finishers in most of the Abzan decks and even some of the Just Guy and Mardu decks.
Yeah,
which is why
especially
it's
where
seen
we're
a
having a
higher
lot of
ticket.
mid-range, as I was saying before, to go over. They just sort of play a lot of army, and you need something to really
to finish
to
it
finish
out.
the
And
finish the
gaining
stalemate.
life off of it too is pretty sweet.
And you
so.
gain life about it, where he just flies over your opponents and
Well,
just keeps pinging them for
There's
6.
so many
each
people
turn.
that are like, Siege Rhino turn 4, attack you, turn 5, Wingmate Rock. Like,
Yeah.
just too much. Too much. Which, another card, Hushwing Griff, stops Wingmate Rock from making a teammate. Just saying. Anyway. Let's see. Do we want to move into like the whole Treasure Cruise debate? Are you ready for that? Or you still got some decks you want to go through?
No, I think that's those are the big ones. Like you see every once in a while something else jumping in, but for the most part, the format is very diverse. Like there's not just one stock deck list of any of them. It
Right,
just
they're
depends on
constantly
from week to
changing.
week.
The only thing that really stays pretty consistent are the land,
The lands and
Siege Rhinos,
Siege Rhinos,
Wingmate Rocks,
Courser.
Jeskai, Mantis Rider. Like those are like the consistent things you're gonna see for sure.
Yeah.
And Polychronos has seen some play in the Temur mid-range, which is actually pretty interesting. Like, the Temur mid-range, I think they will get better next set. When they get the commander, that's 3 mana, that steals guys. I say commander because he's a legendary guy, sorry. That steals things, acted treason on his shtick. Yeah, like, that Temur will get a lot better when that guy gets printed. But, yeah, does chat have any questions? And does, James, do you have any questions or any comments?
I'm good. No, I'm fine. I've been watching chat here. There's been a little bit of just a conversation about the stuff you're talking about, but I don't see any questions per se.
So we had a question by I'm gonna murder something. I don't know. I forgot. You're sorry if you're still in chat. I apologize. Murderface asked us a question.
Oh, William Murderface? Oh.
Wilhelm? No, never mind.
No, it's a Metalocalypse.
Oh, I have not seen that show in a while.
You are missing out, sir.
I haven't seen it in a while. I don't have cable.
Me either. I
Importer.
just get the seasons and stuff.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Anyway, what was the?
So he had asked us before we started the show if Treasure Cruise is bannable, and maybe James, if you want, you could put that whole conversation at the very end because it might be better articulated than we're going to try to rehash it.
Second time around doesn't work as well.
Blades, your opinion on Treasure Cruise getting banned?
I think that it will actually get banned. I think that we are probably moving past the point of where it needs to be banned. It's still a extremely powerful card, but we're seeing enough play around it, and we're evolving around it with it in our metagame.
So yeah, we talked earlier. The reason why I don't think we'll get into Legacy here in a minute. Because it's a whole nother monster completely. I don't think they'll ban Treasure Cruise immediately within the first 3 months of it getting printed, because that's kind of honestly not fair. It takes a lot longer for the meta to develop because tournaments happen every month or every week, but that doesn't really change the meta until we hit a couple different GPs or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And like Deathrite Shaman, they gave Deathrite Shaman a year shelf life, a year and a half or something like that before they banned it.
Was there talk early on about it though?
No,
Same kind of talk.
There was a lot of people yelling, crying for the banhammer, but they waited for the meta to see if it was going to really, really, really change that much because of Deathrite Shaman, and it proved that it did, and so that's why they banned him.
Right.
And so that's why I'm saying, like, Treasure Cruise, they won't ban it in this first printing. If they do, like, Wizards, get your act together, sorry. But, like, that's way too fast for them to just print a card just to ban it really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is, like Blaze just said, like, the meta's changed enough now that
It's already
Treasure
adjusted.
Cruise is already showing that's adjusted. I mean, if they ban Treasure Cruise, it'll be because of the Just Guy Ascendancy deck alone. Because the Just Guy Ascendancy deck, I mean, yeah, it can go like cast a spell, draw a card, cast a spell, draw a card. But it isn't until they hit that first Treasure Cruise that they're able to just net that extra 2 cards that they're really able to go off, because then they're able to actually start pitching their, Noble Hierarchs and their Sylvan Caryatids and stuff that they've been sitting on to be able to draw into more stuff. Because a lot of times, like, if you're going spell for spell, you're usually sitting with 1 or maybe possibly 2 cards in your hand, and a lot of times you're going to draw Mana Dorks or land, and that just gums you up so you can't play anymore. But the treasure cruise is what enables you to be able to get through that rough patch so you can start actually looting.
Right.
Instead of, you know what I mean, like just card for carding yourself. In the Delver decks, the Blue-Red Delver decks, a lot of the spells that they cast in the Blue-Red Delver decks are 1 or 2 mana costing, right? Which are great super early in the game. I mean, Bolt's always good. Reman's kind of gets worse later in the game. But they play things like Thought Scour. That's a card that, you know, Blades had brought up.
Yeah.
And Thought Scour is a terrible card in a sense. I mean, it's 1 blue, it's a cantrip, and you mill 2 cards. But I've seen tons of times where these players will Thought Scour themselves, and they hit a Treasure Cruise, or they hit a Bolt, or they hit, you know, their Young Pyromancer, or something that they would rather have in their hand. And just to be able to cast Treasure Cruise earlier in the game, that seems pretty terrible.
Well, as far as that goes, from what they mill, it doesn't really matter what they mill. Like, sure, it gets it off the top, but like, there's no way that you're gonna know that it was on top anyway.
Well, and that's the thing, though, right? You're trading your Thought Scour. The whole point of Thought Scour is to get your prowess trigger up, trigger on Young Pyromancer, and get cards in your graveyard for your Treasure Cruise.
Yes.
I mean, like, yeah, it seems great, but it's not progressing your game any further. It's not winning you the game. It's just setting you up a little bit more. And so I guess what I'm getting at is, like, the Treasure Cruise decks, the Blue-Red Delver decks are playing Treasure Cruise. You'll notice a lot of times that they'll be at 10 life by turn 4, turn 5, because they're fetching, shocking themselves.
The
so
opportunity
much.
Cost of Thought Scour is not there.
Right, it's not. Like, I mean, it helps you hit a turn 2 or turn 3 Treasure Cruise, sure. But I mean, at the cost of what, though? A card that could be better spent doing something different.
So, yes, the cost of Thought Scour, though, as a whole, it does set you up, but it doesn't really cost you a card because it draws another card. It just pretty much just costs you 1 blue mana, which isn't too huge. It's still moderate in that format where you're not playing a whole lot of lands in the blue-red deck. Like, ideally, you'd want to stay on
like 16, 17.
A little bit higher. Like, you want to draw like
no, they're running 16, 17 lands in this.
You want to have like 3 or 4 lands in play.
Oh, that's what
at
you're saying.
max.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm.
Yeah. But the thing, I guess, but that's what I was getting at, though. Sorry, was like the Thought Scour is cheap and it does a lot of things, but I guess what I'm getting at is, they're playing a lot of cheap spells to be able to feed their Treasure Cruises, which help them out later in the game and early enough in the game. But they've proven already, like, I mean, at GP Madrid, like you said, that a lot of decks with Treasure Cruise took top 16, right?
Yes.
But the top 8, there was more Siege Rhinos in top 8 than there were Treasure Cruises.
Yes, there were.
I mean, there's a lot of people packing Nihil Spell Bombs specifically because of Treasure Cruise, because like, oh, well, if I could just take off their 1 Treasure Cruise and make them sit with an 8 mana costing spell in their hand, then it doesn't hurt me as much because I'm not going to be able to draw those cards. The meta is already warping and changing itself around this Treasure Cruise, like, fiasco. I don't know what to call it. Like, the allure of people playing Treasure Cruise, the format's already changing itself, right?
Yes.
And even a lot of the control decks playing in Modern are actually playing, like, Dig Through Times now, because Dig Through Times is just a better spell in general than trying to play Treasure Cruise. So I don't think that Treasure Cruise is bannable because they've already proven that it's playable. You can play around it. You know, it's not like the bee's knees that automatically wins you the game. You still have to cast spells.
Knees. It's one of my favorite phrases. Keep
bee's
going.
Knees.
So with that, I think that it's gonna be a card that fluctuates. Like, we're gonna be prepared for it, and then it's gonna see less play, and then it's gonna have the dredge syndrome to it.
It'll have long-term effects for sure. Like, it's a card that I think that definitely it's a build-around type card. It's not something you just, I mean,
yes.
In Legacy, it's a throw-in. I mean, sorry, like throwing 4 into a Legacy deck seems really good, but it's not a card that you can just throw in. Like, I had a lot of people going like, oh, I like Dark Confidants and I like playing blue. I'll play a blue-black deck and I'll throw Thought Scour, Treasure Cruises in. I'm like, have fun with that. You know what I mean? Like, you have to kind of, it's not a 4 of because you still have to be able to cast the spells. And if you're not casting spells a turn, like Blue-Red Delver does, you're not going to be able to ever actually Treasure Cruise more than once, maybe a game.
Right. But what I was saying is it's going to see its big play, and then people are going to start preparing for it, and then it's going to sink down a little bit more. It's still going to see play, but it's not going to be as good of a deck to play because it's just going to have people are going to be more prepared for it. And then People are going to start sideboarding less for it until it starts coming back again, and then it's just going to be like a constant wave, ebbing and flowing.
And that's already happening, right? Like, people are already meta towards it. I mean, the deck, Blue-Red Delver, if you look at any of the Jund or any of the black-green mid-range decks that are seeing top 8 play, what are they running main board? 2 Disfigures and 1, oh my gosh, Dark Blast. Dark Blast isn't in there because it's good at killing creatures. It's good because it kills the 2 things that matter in that deck. So that sounded weird, but you know what I meant. It doesn't kill everything. It kills Delver Secrets before it flips, and it kills Young Pyromancer, which is the main thing. They're not. You don't play Dark Blast because you want stuff in your graveyard, because that's terrible. Why would you want a 1/1 for 1 black, like -1/-1 for 1 black? That's kind of bad, but it's really, really, really good at metaing against Delver decks specifically, which is why they're seeing play. And you could pitch it with your Liliana, and you could dredge it up later again if you need to, if they play another Delver, another Young Pyromancer. So I mean, the meta is already changing itself. Abrupt Decay kills Delver, for goodness sake, like. You know, so, but as for Legacy, so I don't think my final statement is I don't think they'll ban Treasure Cruise right now for Modern, because it's already fixing itself.
It's got a target on it, definitely. Jeskai Ascendancy, I think that one's got to go, not because it's broken.
The thing is, Jeskai, if they do anything for Jeskai Ascendancy, like, it sounds weird, but they'll either ban Jeskai Ascendancy, ban Sylvan Caryatid because it makes it uninteractable, or they'll ban...
The new ones actually don't even play Sylvan Caryatid.
Well, right, because they can try potentially going off faster. Glittering Wish, too. Like, some of them are even cutting Glittering Wish.
I think the new ones... No, like the new ones that Channel Fireball actually played at the new Players' Championship is just the Jeskai colors. It plays a Fate Snatcher...
Fairy Conclaves and stuff.
Fairy Conclave.
Yeah.
Those are their big combo mana creatures.
Right. And it's a little bit slower, though, isn't it?
Yes, it doesn't
slower. Combo out as
quickly,
combo just
out
more
on turn
reliably
3.
or whatever. Yeah. So I think that Jeskai Ascendancy is another thing that the meta will work out. So I don't see them fixing it yet, and especially since it hasn't seen top 8 play in a while. There's just this surge of everybody wanting to play it that caused the prices to hike up, and everybody threatening the ban hammer. But I think that it's going to fix itself. I mean, if you're running, you just run enchantment removal. Go figure. Like, and you're fine.
I think they're still gonna just nerf it anyway.
Yeah,
just because.
I don't know if they will. They might just print a card that's effective at destroying enchantments that's colorless or something next block. They won't. But anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving away from Jeskai Ascendancy, that's a whole different thing, and I think the meta is going to have to work itself out, and it sounds like it's kind of already is. In Standard, you have to deal with it because it's a deck. But in Legacy with Treasure Cruise, I also think that in Legacy it's not really bannable. I mean, I've watched just a ton of Legacy the last couple weeks, and like a lot of them, almost 50% of them are Blue-Red Delver or Jeskai Stoneblade playing Treasure Cruise, and yeah, it's pretty popular and it's pretty big. I mean, it literally is an ancestral recall, But the thing is, you have to fill up your graveyard, which in Legacy is a little harder because you can't just, like, people are wasting spells on stuff to be able to just get stuff in their graveyard, which is fine because Legacy, you want to remove everything on the board anyway. Yeah. But it's different in Legacy than it is in Modern. You can hit it a little bit more consistently, but it's not... A lot of times people just use it for food for Force of the Wills. And people force a will Treasure Cruise.
Dead,
I mean, people Pyroblast it or Red Blast it. I mean, and a lot of people are playing Pyroblast's main board specifically for Treasure Cruises because it's like, one blue Treasure Cruise, and you're like, Pyroblast, let's have those, and they fight over it, the counter battle on Treasure Cruise, you know what I mean? And the meta is even changing itself to a point where people are just starting to play like Trinispheres, which shuts down the Brainstorms and the Bolts and things like that. And the Delvers, I mean, you still can cast your Treasure Cruise for one blue, but you have to, like, you have to put spells in your graveyard, but you can't because all your spells now cost 3 mana. So I feel like the meta is already changing in Legacy enough that it's not going to be too crucial.
I think that the big problem isn't just Treasure Cruise. It's Treasure Cruise paired with Brainstorm. I think both of those together in the same format is really what makes it a reckoning.
Really rough. Yeah, and then Jason the Mind Sculptor too, because like being able to brainstorm like every turn, and then also
the brainstorm effect as a whole. Yes.
Yeah, and also being able to like Treasure Cruise. Like, I mean, I've seen people draw 6 turns in the course of 6 cards in the course of 2 turns. And it can swing the game a lot in their direction, in their favor, But
it's just the fact that we have a a potential of 8 copies of Ancestral Recall in one deck, and
Yeah.
they're both the same color.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest issue. Like, one of them has to go.
But the thing is, I don't think that they will though. Like, I don't think they'll ban it because there's enough answers out there. I mean, you still have to play around Daze, and Daze has been actually seeing less and less and less play now. But like, people are playing Spell Snare, right? Spell Snare, then 1 blue counter unless they pay 2 mana, non-creature spell. Spell Pierce.
Spell Pierce.
Spell Pierce. Spell Snare is a counter target spell too. I'm obviously not a blue player,
yeah.
can you tell? But they're playing Spell Pierce because Spell Pierce, like, a lot of times they'll tap out for their Treasure Cruise.
Right.
Or whatever, because, like, oh, I have Force of Will, back up. And so they're like, Spell Pierce, and then, like, K. Yeah, there's the Spell Pierce. And, like, K counter or whatever, and they're just getting counter battle over Treasure Cruises, you know. And usually whoever casts the first Treasure Cruise, if it goes unfought for, they win. But if it goes fought for, they usually lose. So, I mean, it's kind of sixes. It's actually done really a lot of work for Tom Ross, the guy, the inventor of Boss Lie, right? Tom Ross is the guy who did Boss Lie.
Yeah.
And playing blue-green Infect. Like, Treasure Cruise is really good in that
he's the
deck
biggest
now,
proponent of
so.
Infect in
I don't think
Legacy.
they'll ban it, but we'll see what happens. Legacy is its own different monster, and Thalia still shuts it down
I think
a little
that's
bit,
still
so.
one that's going to take time as well.
Yeah.
I think that this ban season, we're not going to see a whole lot. We're going to see a few, but I don't think that Treasure Cruise is going to be in it. That's probably going to be in the next ban season if they choose to go that route.
Also, they're also playing the 2-1, 3-1 Spirit of the Labyrinth, specifically for Treasure
Oh,
Cruises
yeah, that
and
one's
stuff.
starting to see a lot more
which
play,
is pretty
too.
sweet, too. Actually, I found this really cool interaction for Hate Bears. Somebody was telling me about. Sorry, I'm going to get excited. Play with Makokoro, the Spreading Sea. That's the one you pay 2 mana and tap it, and each player draws a card. And then you play with Spirit of the Labyrinth. So on their turn, you have a Spirit of the Labyrinth. They play, they draw a card for their upkeep or whatever, their draw step. And then at the end of their turn, you activate Makokoro, and you get to draw a card, but they don't. So much win when you're playing like mono white Hate Bears or Death in Texas.
That works with the Soul Collector? Is that the
Huh? No.
Sin Collector?
No, Spirit of the Labyrinth.
Yeah, Spirit of the Labyrinth, but with Sin Collector too.
Because you
Where
exile a card.
They can't
instant or
draw
sorcery.
if they draw more than
Notion
one card.
Thief is what you're thinking
Notion
of.
Thief.
Yeah, Notion
Sin
Thief.
Collector.
Yes. Yeah, not Sin Collector.
Yeah, not Sin
You're
Collector.
close though. Same terrible set. But like, yeah, you're thinking of Notion Thief.
Notion Thief.
Which is actually also another card that I've seen
Lotion
play.
Thief, yes.
Lotion Thief.
Lotion
Thief. He puts the lotion on the skin. Anyway,
It
no.
puts
So
the
Notion Thief's
lotion
actually seen play in Legacy as a one of in sideboards now because it was already good because of Brainstorm. And it was already good because of JTMS, but now it's even really good because of Treasure Cruise.
Yeah, he was seen play before. I think that he's more reasonable
Center
to
of the
see play
sea,
right
not
now.
spreading of the sea. Anyway, so yeah. I don't know what else to talk about. So, Kodama of the Center Tree, why did you pull that up? Mukokoro, Center of
Because
the
I
Sea.
typed in center of,
Oh, gotcha.
and
You want to be careful with that in the internet, sir.
I just type in random things
Yep.
and see what happens.
Google.
And you don't
I'm
get
feeling
more
lucky.
viruses? How?
Mukokoro. Anyway, I think we beat this horse dead enough. Do we have any comments or questions in chat or anything? In Modern though, like I highly suggest if you're on the edge getting into it, I really do. It's a much better format than Standard. Like
I'm actually a
it's
big,
nice
big
to,
proponent
like-
of Modern as well.
yeah, it's nice to be able to like get into cards and not have to worry about card prices because the chances are they're only going to go up.
At some point, you look at standard sets and they sell off and sell off and sell off and sell off. And then they pretty much, and then a few cards from each one just sort of, they just gradually.
Right.
Depending on if they're good in other formats.
Right.
Well, like there's like
So-
mono green, like the mono green. Like Travis Wu has a lot of really, really cheap decks that he plays. Now, granted, they don't stay cheap for long because everybody and their dog starts trying to get into them. But they're like maybe tier 3 competitive at like the very low end. Some of them are pretty, really, really good. It's just they do really, really good at one thing and one thing only usually. So, but yeah, there's a lot of like cheaper variants and stuff too. So, and I play mono black in Standard. I run like 12 or 16 1-drops, 19 swamps, 3 pain seers, just removal suite, And then Master of the Feast, because Master of the Feast is truth. He's a 5/5 that does not trade with a Siege Rhino and does not trade with a Mantis Rider.
He is pretty good.
I mean,
I draw
granted-
cards off of it, though.
Yeah, they do. And that's usually the only time I die is if they happen to top deck the removal spell for him and I'm dead next turn.
Right.
Which happens very rarely. So, and I also run Herald the Torment, because putting a Herald the Torment on the Master of the Feast is even more adorable. And then Mogus's Marauders, because Mogus's Marauders gives my guys Intimidate and Haste, so I can just
He is actually
play.
very good.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where I'll just sit there and I'll just sack sack. Yeah, I'll just sit there and sack up creatures, and then basically like I'll play a bunch of 1-drops all at once and play the Mogus Marauder and attack for the win or whatever. So, and Freaka's Cure is really good against Boss Sly. So that's what I play anyway.
Mogus Marauders. There we go.
Yeah, that guy's truth.
All right, well, should we move along?
Yeah.
Combat phase.
Combat lately. What you guys been doing?
I've been playing a bit of the blue-white heroic. I don't know where I'm going with it yet. I put together the stock list that with the Heliod's Pilgrim style, and it seemed fine. It seemed good. I want more protection in it, though. Like, I want more God's Willing effects. So,
Like, yeah.
I think I'm going to lean more that way. I've already started to take out the Eidolon of the Great Battle.
Countless
Great-
battles.
Countless battles.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's not impactful enough. Like, and I've started to play one Treasure Cruise, and yes, more Treasure Cruise.
Yeah, Treasure Cruises are good, dude.
It seems pretty good.
Rich, how about you? What you been doing?
So let's see. I finished up my black-green mid-range. Because, Goyfs are expensive, but I got them finally.
You got him.
So, I've been playing a lot of that, playtesting that. Actually added Siege Rhinos into my pod deck, which is funny because I added them, and then literally like a couple hours later, somebody came to my shop and like, dude, I know you play Birthing Pod, but did you see the list that plays Siege Rhinos? I'm like, damn it, I'm not the first one to it. And they're like, sure enough, I pulled the deck list. I'm like, well, I'm running 2. And then he showed me another deck list that was running 2, and I'm like, dang it. So like, I thought I was being a hipster and was like, Siege Rhinos seem really good in pod. And then
Well, now you
I
are.
was,
Now you are a hipster because you're like, oh man, I'm not gonna play that because everybody else is.
right. So now I'm playing black-green mid-range.
You're a hipster, but you are nothing but a darn hamster the whole time.
yeah.
No, we hate those little feet and their vegan diets. Oh, hamsters.
You guys would get.
Hamster.
Here's the audience would get that joke if you guys showed them the
I know
meme.
it. I know it. I'd love
There's
that
a meme
There's
about
a meme.
hamsters.
It
anyway.
says we don't serve hipsters with their no hipsters with their furry faces
their
and
furry faces,
what else does
their
it say?
cardboard beds,
with their cardboard beds and their furry faces and their small hands.
yeah, and it's like,
and-
oh wait,
oh, wait,
hamsters.
hamsters.
We don't
Hamsters
serve
is what we meant.
hamsters. Yeah, they're just making fun of hipsters.
I
Anyway.
love that meme. Yeah, look it up.
So yeah, been playing that, picking up some more foils for my EDH deck slowly but surely. So, we'll see what happens with that. Just playing Carador and loving it. Actually trying to build a blue-black Grimgrin deck. Because like there's gonna be an infinite combo in it. It's gonna be Rooftop Storm with Gravecrawler, so I can make my guy infinitely big. But with like Digraph Captain and stuff, they infinitely kill everybody. Which I probably only do in like niche circumstances where somebody's being a total, jerky face. I'm gonna keep it PC. But I actually found out another cutesy infinite combo because I was like, I'll throw Finnex in. Why not? Because he's blue-black. Like,
Yep.
And then I'm like, wait, with Undead Alchemist and Grimgrin, because with Finnex, your guys can tap to mill people.
Yeah.
And with Undead Alchemist, whenever a creature card is put in their graveyard from their library, I exile it and I put a 2/2 zombie into play, right? Well, with Grimgrin, I can sacrifice him and untap him and put a counter on him. So like with Grimgrin, I'm like, hey, mill 5 cards. Okay, cool, hit a creature, sacrifice the zombie I just created off of Undead Alchemist to untap it. Okay, mill 6 now. All you hit another creature, exile it, I'll get a 2/2, and like basically rinse and repeat, and I can just mill everybody on the board. And if they have any Eldrazi, it doesn't matter because it's gonna get exiled anyway. So I'm gonna build that deck because I'm gonna be a total troll. So, but that's what I've been doing. I don't know. What about you?
Not much. Just working on the studio as usual. Change the color of my background. That's all.
Change the background.
Yeah, it used to be black behind me. Now it's gray. So that's what's happening in my neck of the woods.
Gotcha.
So let's move along.
Second main phase.
Second main phase. You know what? We have like 4 new reviews in iTunes.
Sweet.
Oh, wow.
I know. Let me get to them.
I noticed we had a whole lot more likes on Facebook too.
Nice.
And
Okay,
on
so
YouTube.
so here they are. Yeah, our YouTube following is growing very nicely. We appreciate that.
Like 385 or something.
Definitely worth a listen. This is from Nemesis of Mortals. 5-star review. I'm relatively new listener. I'm definitely glad to be to have added MTGYou to my listening library of Magic podcasts. So thanks to Nemesis of Mortals for that. It's good to be back. This is Mushin427. 5-star review. Until 1 month ago, the last time I played Magic was around 22 years ago. A buddy asked me if I wanted to play, and I'm beyond happy that I said yes. In my rush to re-educate and learn all the new stuff, MTGYou's podcast and YouTube page has been a godsend. You guys have kept me company and educated me so much in my quest to feel comfortable and knowledgeable again, and I can't thank you all enough. Keep up the good work, and here's to the future for all of us. Anyway, thanks for Mushin427 for that. We appreciate it. 5-star review from Jezik21. And the MTGYou podcast is one of the great ones. I would recommend that you read all of the other reviews, subscribe, and listen to the podcast. You won't regret it. And finally, and thanks again, thanks to Jezik21. And lastly, but not leastly, best informative MTGYou podcast, 5 stars. Tool 0802. This is one of the best MTG podcasts out there. They are a bunch of friends that just want to help listeners with the game. I have learned more rules and cards from this than I have from anything else. The quality of the cast is amazing, and they try to show cards they're talking about on screen. Yes, they try. They try. That is the key. In their live stream. If I could only listen to one podcast, it would be this one. Those are some amazing ones. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I just really appreciate that. You have a few more weeks to get in your 5-star review before our contest ends. And the winner of that drawing will be will get a playmat from Judge Jeremy's from a selection of Judge Jeremy's GP collection.
Yes.
So if you want to get in on that, give us a 5-star review, and we thank you for your reviews. They have, right now we have 41 5-star reviews. That is exceptional. So I'm just really happy about that. Also, let's see what else. I'm sorry about the poll of the week. I need to put something new up. It's broken, and I can't I don't know what to fix it. When they push out these new updates to the software that I use for this, it broke somewhere along the line. It makes it so that people that aren't registered can't. Anyway, I just got to figure it out and put a new one up. So I've been slacking on that. I apologize. Let's see. What else, guys? Email feedback.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for all of those awesome comments. Thanks, guys, for taking the time and going out and doing that.
Yeah. Wumpus in the chat room, his name's Jeff, send us a long email, and we'll be talking about that probably in the future because it's kind of a cool idea. It's called Battle Scars. Have you read through that? We'll talk about it. It's pretty cool. It's a cool idea about a deck, and it's a way of playing a deck. Anyway, we'll be getting to that, Jeff. I know you're in the chat room there, and we appreciate you sending that idea in. We'll be talking about it.
So, yeah.
What?
Nothing.
Okay.
It's just been very, very busy the last couple of weeks.
Yes, well, this
in lieu of finals
and kind of
holidays.
expect it with the holidays too,
Yeah.
guys. We are real people with real lives, and we
Believe
do our
it or
best.
not.
We do our best to keep this podcast informative and fun, but we also are trying to
Live lives.
So this is from Steven. Hi, everyone. Hope all of you had a good Thanksgiving. Love the show. You bring a fresh perspective from all the other podcasts out there, like a friend introducing the game to another friend. I just started playing a few months ago after having not played in years. Since high school, your podcast has been useful in catching myself up is now. I know you guys have covered some aspects of EDH in your podcast. I'd love it if you could discuss some of the etiquette involved in the game, both in playing and deck design. I haven't really played any EDH, and I'm afraid that my inner spike may rub other players in the wrong way in a casual format. I saw you guys playing some Legacy and Fight Club a little while back and would love to see Blades piloting Death and Taxes. Keep up the good work, Steven. I think that Peter is going to tackle this topic in one of his articles. So look forward to that, Steven. Thank you for that email.
The etiquette of EDH?
Yes.
It's a bit complicated.
Yeah. I think it's just... Well,
anybody brags about the amount of money they put in their deck, that's the first person you kill.
that's all there's to
fair.
it.
That's fair.
Okay, and then one last email. This is from Michael. Hey there, fellas. Just saw a great deal of Magic and thought I'd pass it along. Walgreens this week is selling Magic boosters.
Wait, is this Travis?
No, this is Michael.
Sorry.
Walgreens this week is selling Magic boosters and intro packs at buy one get one free. That's only $1.90 a booster and $7.50 for an intro pack. Good for stocking up on stocking stuffers. He also went on to ask for life pads. We'll be sending those out.
Walmart price matches. Cough, cough. I know because I have a customer who went around and literally cleaned up all of the Walmarts around the southern Salt Lake Valley.
Wow. Anyway, if I missed your email,
Walmart price matches.
I don't know if I've missed any emails. I hope not. Sometimes we appreciate all the feedback. It actually does our heart good to see an email come in, doesn't it? When you see that come in, you're like, hey, someone's listening.
It's nice to know there's people out there.
yeah, and we get it, and it helps. So feel free to send in those comments
that are statistics that we look at every week aren't lying to us.
That's right.
There are indeed actual listeners out there.
That's right. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's it. So I don't have anything else. How about you guys?
No, that's good.
All right. Let's move along.
End step.
If you want to contact us, you can send email to mtgyoupodcast at gmail.com. Interact with us on Facebook by going to facebook.com/mtgu. Follow us on Twitter at the MTGYou. Catch us live on Thursday nights on twitch.tv/mtgu. Subscribe and like us on YouTube. Find us at youtube.com/the-mtgu. We're also on Stitcher. So for the MTGYou Fight Club. So for the MTGYou Podcast.
I'm Blades.
I'm Rich.
I'm James. And now we pass the turn to you.
If you have any ideas for episodes, what you want to hear?
Yeah, we have a few that we talked about earlier, but some of these episode ideas require a little bit of in-depth study, and this time of year is
a lot of preparation. Yes,
this time of year is not the best for it. Plus,
yeah, the only thing that I can do this time of year is preparation H, not just preparation.
Thanks, chat room, for hanging out with us. We appreciate you.
Gracias.
And thanks for being here with us.
I like the song. We need to have more of this song.
Is it grown on you?
It has grown on me. I still don't like the
Are you down
Indian
with the
rhythms
sickness?
there. But I love the piano. The Hindu.
Hindu's, I think, the religion, but yeah, Indian. It's very indie, very indie.
It does, like the guitar. I don't even know what that is, but
what is?
The sitar.
The
sitar. Is that what that is? That sound is?
I think there's just two guitars. One's going.
But that's the sound that a sitar kind of makes. Is that more like sharp?
Yeah.
Noise.
I think it's just the dissonance of it. It's sitars. I think are tuned on a 5 tonal pentatonal. Anyway, it's a 5-tone scale. So
not that I don't like guitars or. I love guitars, but
the most musically challenged person. I have a guitar, and I learned how to play guitar when I was little, and then I broke way too many fingers in my hands. I can't play the guitar anymore. So, I'm like,
I used to try to play.
Yeah.
I could play a few songs.
you could play Kryptonite.
Yeah.
Me
Was
too.
fun for like all but 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So I forgot it.
I could still play it. It's just the fingering is very quick for me to get down. Like
Right.
Yeah.
I can play it slow.
Well. Anyway, we better get out of here. You mentioned you're going to go for Chinese.
Yeah, I'm
Hope you're not too
45
late.
minutes late for Chinese.
Yeah,
It's all
so-
good.
Anyway, chat room, good night. We love you. Thanks for being here.
Adios.
Talk to you next week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go
All
see the new Hobbit.
All right.
Oh, when does that come out?
I don't know.
All right.
I forget.